Wait for it. Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. We have the evil ginger, Mr. John Epple.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm artist, co-creator of Exodus Z 1 and 2. We should have still on Kickstarter. I've done a few other small books, but that's my main thing right now. I'm also working on Flesh Eaters and a comic of my own that hasn't been released yet.
Okay. Now, I have a question. When you go full gray, are you considered a ginger in recovery? Are you no longer a ginger, and are you awarded a soul?
I've still got red hair up here.
Yes, but when it goes full white, are you in recovery? Are you given a soul at that point?
I'll worry about that when the time comes.
Okay.
I've had one. I've been without one for so long I hadn't even bothered thinking about it.
It might hurt when the soul finally enters you.
Maybe.
All right. Next, we got Mr. Matthew W. Quinn.
Hey, everybody. I'm Atlanta author Matthew W. Quinn. Check out my newest book, The Walking Worm. It's the third book in my Long War series after The Thing in the Woods and the Atlanta Incursion. And I've done an episode in that series with our esteemed host before.
Yeah, you do those via Kickstarter, right?
Yep.
You fund them that way?
Yep.
So is the third one going up on Kickstarter?
The third one is already out on Amazon and Apple and whatnot, where everyone can buy. The Kickstarter backers got theirs in December.
Okay, I seem to remember we did a Kickstarter for you, but it all after 500 episodes, it all sort of blurs together. Mm-hmm. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Mr. MD Ortiz.
What's up? Hey, everybody. I'm MD Ortiz, writer and publisher of the Dawnward series of novellas, which is out on ebook right now. We also have a Kickstarter that's going to be going up very soon for our first comic series, Breeze. So I will share that with JR as soon as that is up and running, which should be in about a week.
We'll have to get you back to actually pimp the Kickstarter as a whole episode, because this is going to air at the end of the month. So they'll actually see your Kickstarter episode in advance.
Cool.
We like that people have started coming to us when they got Kickstarters because they hear we're the place to go. I mean, it hasn't gotten us a whole lot of views yet, but maybe one day the big kids will say, hey, look at the cool little nerds over there.
Hell yeah.
Pick me.
Right? All right. So is there any truth to the rumor, Nick, that the reason Stabby wasn't here today is because when you asked her the question that's going to be part of the religion question, her favorite superhero, she said something about Sailor Moon and you had to kick her out. Is there any truth to that rumor?
Oh, I can't confirm or deny that, but she's not here, is she?
All right. And continuing our long-honored tradition of picking our religion questions based on the topic
At hand.
That's right. We're going to jump right in. But first, you want to know how I first found all them? We actually met in a holding cell after getting into a fight at Comic-Con because someone said there was a different way to read comics, and they got it wrong, and Nick got offended, so we all had to join in. It was something of a thing. But
I flipped the table. I mean, all the charges were dropped, but we did get to spend a couple of really close hours together in a holding cell.
But they signed non-disclosure agreements, so we're okay to just say that we're good.
It was actually Jim Lee that bailed us out. He dropped that Jim Lee money, got us all out.
And he didn't share any with the rest of us, which I'm kind of disappointed about.
Well, I mean, that's how he's still rich. He helped out, but he didn't help out. You know what I'm saying?
All right, now we've got the religion question. So, Superman the movie, Batman the 1989 movie, or The Watchmen? Ortiz, I see you looking intently at the camera.
Well, where else am I supposed to look? At your beautiful face? That would just make me blush.
This is why everyone likes you.
How cheeky.
So picking between those three is pretty easy for me. It's going to definitely be Batman 89.
Okay.
I mean, like Superman the movie, I'm assuming we're talking about Christopher Reeve, right?
Yes.
Is there any other?
I'm just making sure. Which is it's a classic. It's absolutely a classic, but I feel as though Batman 89 kind of changed the face of a lot of things in terms of not just like comic books, but comic book movies. And then at least for me was like a really big exposure to Batman. And you're just like, holy crap, this is awesome. And McDonald's with those stupid cups that everyone and their mom wanted.
Was Batman 89 the one with Michelle Pfeiffer in the cat suit?
No, that's 92.
That's 92.
Forever.
That's
No, not Forever.
Batman
Sorry.
Returns.
Batman Returns. Batman Returns. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's Jack Nicholson as the Joker in 89.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What about you, Matt?
The Batman 89.
Okay. Any
See?
reason particularly?
Well, Watchmen I thought was kind of middling, and I thought Superman the movie was boring.
Okay, we're going to get into that later.
Well, we're getting to that. I liked Man of Steel better.
Okay, you're back in my good graces.
All right. What about you, Evil Ginger?
I agree with everybody else. I mean, all three movies I did enjoy, but out of the three, I think Batman was probably the best.
Okay.
For the same reasons that MD said.
Okay. Nick, what about you? I know you've got opinions.
Okay, so I chose these questions, and I did that because I wanted my own conflict internally. I love Superman the movie. It was my first introduction into superheroes, where you could believe a man could fly. Christopher Reeves is my Superman. Close second is Henry Cavill. We'll get into that later in the episode. Batman 89, we went back from the campy Adam West Batman stuff to a darker Neil Adams 1970s, early 80s version of Batman. So it's kind of a coin flip for me. I'm just going to say Superman and Batman 89.
All right. So for me, the same reason I pick all of them, I like Batman because Batman, Iron Man, and the Green Lantern, they're all the ones that the average person could be if in the right situation with the right gadgets. It doesn't require
In the right money.
In the right money. It doesn't require an accident birth or being some sort of, other than human creature. It's, rising to the occasion as the everyman could become. And I dig that. I like that idea. And in fact, I think Batman's even cooler than some of the others because he has to fight against these super beings without anything other than the gadgets. Although, Nick, you've gotten into that one before about whether he would be a superhero or a vigilante because he doesn't have those superpowers. We've had that discussion before, you.
Yeah, multiple times. I don't know. It's a really weird kind of checklist of they're all technically vigilantes. But when you start throwing out superhero, that implies superpowers. But then again, Batman is kind of the smartest dude in the DC universe. The old adage is you give him enough prep time, he can beat God.
Yeah, superpower is super money.
Yeah,
super money. Yeah. Well, and they made a joke of that in Justice League. They made a joke of that in Justice League. He's like, "What's your superpower again?" When the Flash was talking to him, and the Bugatti, he's like, "I'm rich," which is a superpower. I have to Iron Man is. We'll get into that later. Let's move on.
The Batman one gave us some funny memes. I guess there was a couple that dressed as Bruce Wayne's parents. And every time they found someone dressed like Batman at one of the San Diego Comic-Con, they'd run and drop at his feet with little signs like they'd just been killed.
All the trauma. Yeah.
All the trauma.
I saw it. It was hilarious. All the trauma. Someone was doing that with Spider-Man too. They were dressed as Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Or they would have a box of Uncle Ben rice. And they would drop dead in front of him. Hilarious.
You and Stebby would do that, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Because we like the gag.
All right. So next we have Daredevil, The Flash, or Justice League Unlimited. Ginger, Evil Ginger.
We talked about them. I try not to think about the Daredevil movie, so hopefully that doesn't count.
The Netflix series. The Netflix series. This is all TV based. This question.
Okay, yeah, because that. Oh my God, I can't come up with words to describe how bad that movie was. The TV show I liked.
Was Ben Affleck playing Batman pretending to be Daredevil.
I don't know. I don't blame him. I still blame the writers or the people that made the movie.
No, you're right. It was the same guy that wrote the first Ghost Rider movie. It was horrible. but
Hmm.
that's what we got in 2007. So,
But TV shows, I'd still say that probably the Daredevil, because it gave me new respect for the character. Because I always kind of liked him, thought he was kind of cool, but seeing what he could do in live action just was awesome to me. I still think the Flash TV show, the actor that played him in the TV show, should have been in the movie too, but that's just my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
I'm not familiar with these three properties enough to comment intelligently. I did
That's
like
never
Man
stopped
of
us.
Steel, the first Wonder Woman movie. Does that count toward Justice League?
The movie, yeah. Yeah, I guess it counts. Yeah, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
So shall it be. All right. What about you, MD Ortiz?
Justice League Unlimited was the cartoon, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Which was very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good
great.
show.
Wish there was more of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually be honest. I've never seen the Flash show. That was during the
Really?
height of it was during the height of the CW superhero shows, and I lost interest in those pretty quickly. I'm not saying they're all bad. It was at the point where I was just like, I don't care about this anymore, and just I've never seen it. So going on that, it's definitely going to be the Daredevil show because I love Daredevil and was ecstatic to see him. I think my biggest gripe was I felt every single season had this giant sagging section of somebody needed to trim these scripts, and then there was never enough of the stupid suit, which always made me really annoyed because you're like, I'm watching the show because I love how
it's usually, it was mid of the season, so it's like episodes 4 through 6, and then 7 and 8 would just turn it back up.
Oh yeah. I just feel like if I went through every season of that show, there was always, maybe except for the last season. I think the last season was pretty solid.
Season 3 was really good.
Yeah, I just always felt like there was a section where I was like, I don't even know what happened. There was talking or so, I don't know. But overall, freaking, it was great.
Why is Vanessa back? I don't know what's going on.
Charlie Cox, right, played Daredevil. Thought he did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Not Defoe. It's not Willem Dafoe. Jeez, what's his name?
Oh, D'Onofrio.
Fisk. Yeah, D'Onofrio. Oh, just so good.
He played a great Kingpin, I thought.
Yeah, he was so good.
He was amazing.
He was, and then I loved the last season that they threw out, which had a Bullseye in it. Loved how they, it was good. It is just a well-made. The stairwell fight people still talk about, like.
Oh, I love that fight.
So yeah, 100% that. Very excited for the new one. Hopefully, it doesn't suck.
Okay.
Coming up.
So first, Nick, Daredevil's the one that's the blind and he's Catholic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my dude.
All right. So I grew up hearing about him.
Blind, but I am Catholic.
I come from a Catholic family too, so I grew up hearing about that one from family, just because representation and all that. I did like the Flash, the TV show. I watched that with the kids, so that that bonding time was nice. Even though half the time I was checking for light holes in my eyelids because I was totally not asleep. The dad thing, right? I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes.
No, my dad still pulls that trick.
I liked Justice League Unlimited. I like the kind of retro look to the cartoon style they used. Also watched that one with the kids. So, I mean, as far as all of them go, I liked all of them. But I also like the Daredevil movie. Again, I'm not well enough versed to have intelligent opinions on it. But the movie, as somebody coming in with knows nothing about it, it wasn't bad.
I had that suit.
And I liked if we do in movies, I also liked Electro was another good one. That it was right about the same time. Comic
that wasn't bad.
Because she had those Ninja Turtles knives that she used. The
size.
Okay,
that was about the only accurate part they had to the comic.
Right.
Okay, I'm not like I said. I think my extent of comic book knowledge is I read the Bazooka Joe's comics that came with the bubblegum. And I think I read a few Archie comics. And that's
I'm a stickler for if you're going to have a movie on a known property, you should make it as close to what made the known property so popular in the first place. Daredevil, the only thing it had in common was the name, pretty much.
Okay.
Well,
That's
and
fair.
how he saw the world too was pretty accurate.
I mean, with the Elektra, I wouldn't expect her to necessarily run around in the same uniform that she did in the comic book, but still, neither one of them really, to me, were anything close to what the comics were.
I think that's also very indicative of the era that they came out.
Yeah, the early 2000s was a weird time for comic book movies.
Okay.
Better than the 90s, though.
Nick, I know you have opinions.
I have a lot of them. We're talking. This is why you brought me on the show. I'm the SME here, along with 3 other guys. But I'm very passionate about comics and comic book related material and characters.
So, Daredevil, The Flash, or Justice League?
Oh man, I love all 3 properties so much. I love the Justice League Unlimited because it was bringing in like new characters that usually the CW or the WB wasn't bringing in. So you got like Captain Atom, you got the Green Arrow, you got all those great things.
I liked all the obscure cameos it had too.
Oh yeah, they Red Tornado, like this. Unless you're a comic book fan who's been doing this stuff since you were 8 years old, you have no idea who the Red Tornado is. You have no idea who Big Barda is. So going on these properties, I love the Flash. I'm a huge Flash fan. Grant Gustin really wasn't playing Barry Allen; he was playing Wally West, and that happens quite a bit. Even with the DC movie Flash, I mean, he's still playing Wally West. He's not Barry Allen, even though his name is Barry Allen. I'm always going to go with Daredevil. That's my boy. Looking for like representation in comics, like he's the first Catholic I've ever come across. Besides, later on, I discovered Nightcrawler. So, and I really dug the idea of a disabled or I don't know if that's the
Otherly abled.
right now, otherly abled superhero. I mean, the character is blind, and what I loved about him when I read about him and I got a little deeper into who he was as a character, he should have been a villain. He definitely had a villain's origin story, but he chose to be a hero.
That's fair.
His dad was killed by the mob.
He could have easily been vengeful as hell.
Yeah.
He could have gone a really dark route, which I'm surprised Marvel's never like done that with like an Elseworlds. No, that's DC. Like
What
a
If?
a what if version of that. I would have read the shit out of that.
So first off, the families prefer you not to refer to them as the mob or the mafia. They are waste management teams and experts in waste management. Yeah, it's not acceptable to call them mafia anymore. That's discriminatory and derogatory, and it's assuming characteristics, not in evidence. Jeez, Nick, we thought we trained you better.
I'm married to a mob princess, so I'm just going to leave that be.
I mean, I'm kind of an expert. I watched one episode of Sopranos.
I've seen Goodfellas like 30 times.
I can mimic Don Corleone.
Man.
Oh, I got to hear this.
This the day of my daughter's wedding. Got to do the hand gestures.
Yeah.
Although the scene where he kills his brother, that was
well, I mean, his brother betrayed him.
Yeah, but I mean, his brother knew he was going to die. He didn't fight it. He just accepted it. Tried to make it easy for his brother so he didn't have to feel bad. Like he went out like a champ. I mean, that was nice. But we could probably do another episode about that one. I will say, as we start this, comic books did give me the most important life lesson, though. In one of my Bazooka Joes that I got at the baseball field when I played Little League, they had the guy in driver's ed, and they asked him this question. He said, if your car brakes fail on the interstate, what do you do? And his answer was succinct and perfect. He said, try to hit something cheap. And I mean, that's a life lesson right there that you carry into adulthood. Because he's not wrong. Just saying. And with that, all right, for the last religion question, Evil Ginger, are you ready?
Yes.
Your third favorite superhero?
Damn it, I'm not ready. I'd probably say Mimic from the X-Men.
Oh my God, you're wearing the shirt, man.
Just because I like the more obscure characters. He could imitate or replicate any of the X-Men's powers. So if he wanted to be Colossus, he could. I think it was like a proximity kind of power. But yeah, if he wanted to be Colossus, he could. Or if he needed to be Nightcrawler, he could do that too. I always thought it was cool.
Okay. All right. What about you, Matt?
I'm really not sure, and I've actually had time to think about it. I mean, I'm just not really into superheroes so much.
Okay. All right. Ortiz?
So mine's a little silly, but it's probably War Machine.
Go
And so in the 90s, during the height of the comic book boom, we had a family friend who had Wizards magazine or whatever came out with trading cards, and he had a binder full of them. And I remember as a kid opening them up and looking through and being like, "Oh, cool, Spider-Man! Oh, cool!" And then I got to this picture, and it was War Machine with like minigun on one shoulder, missile launchers on the other, arms popping open, legs pop, like guns everywhere. And I went, "Who is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's War Machine," but he he's not that important. He's like Iron Man's sidekick. And I was like, "No, like I want to know more about the guy with all the guns."
I need to know about James Rowdy Rhodes. I was the same way, dude.
And so yeah, ever since then, because power armor's dope, and so I'd love seeing Iron Man, but I'd always be like, yeah, but then there's a guy, he's got like black armor and it's full of guns. So like, oh yeah, War Machine. I was like, give me the comic that is him. I just like he's just cool in a way that, like, as much as Tony Stark is cool and fun, like imagine having a sidekick that is more intelligent than you in a different way, but also has infinitely more firepower than you.
He was in Air Force, so I don't know how tactical he could be.
Well, in the comic, he was a Marine.
I thought it was always Air Force.
In the comic,
I don't remember.
Rhodey was a Marine.
Was he a Marine pilot? Is that what he was? Was he a Marine
I've got
pilot?
more respect for him then.
I don't know if he was a pilot or he was like a 0300 series, but like he was a Marine. I remember that. And he had the Gatling gun on his shoulder, which was freaking awesome. You know, the 90s had some great runs with Rhodey as War Machine, as in his own book. And then he was in West Coast Avengers. He was in like a lot of different books as the Iron Man fill-in, but like he took it to a different notch. He really just kind of like got into his own with those books, you know, as
that's why I liked him. He wasn't the Falcon trying to stay under his mentor's shadow.
Right.
He your third favorite superhero, your favorite superhero. You seem to like him a lot.
What?
Who, me?
Yeah, War Machine.
Oh, I'm a fan of comics. Don't worry, we'll get to mine.
All right, so for me, I like them all for the same reason, but I'm going to say Hal Jordan and as Green Lantern, because I like the idea that it's the average man in imagination can do great things with the Green Lantern ring. It's the same reason I like Batman, because, you know, other than the superpower of his infinite wealth, he's just like all of us, and the same reason I like Iron Man. But, you know, I had to pick one, so we'll go with Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. So I have a thing for the everyman. I really dig that as a concept.
Which is a good concept.
It can be aspirational. I mean, it's, you know, everyone wants to do super special squirrels for all the super cool toys, but for me, I'd rather read about the every guy next door who does great things. And that leaves you, Nick.
All right, everybody, get
now
ready.
It's on me. Oh God.
Dun, dun, dun.
You already knew who my favorite superhero was. No, it's not, but it is akin to that obscurity. I'm going to go with Battlebug. Battlebug is my third favorite superhero. He is the first superhero pre-Deadpool to break the fourth wall, and She-Hulk to break the fourth wall. He's hilarious. He's nonsensical. He doesn't make sense, but still makes sense at the same time. And anytime he shows up in a book, it's going to be fun. I know I'm in for a ride.
Okay. And so now we've got the coffee question. Normally we'd ask coffee or tea, and how do you take it. But instead, we're going to say coffee and tea. And which superhero would you want to drink it with? Evil J.
Man.
Jeez, Lou.
Ooh, little twist there. I like it.
Nick sits there all thinking because I'm throwing this out there without any time for them to think about it. Let's go you first.
Oh, me? Who do I want to have coffee with? I'm gonna have a caramel macchiato, and I'm gonna do it with the Flash. I want the Flash because he's already high energy, and I think that conversation would be hilarious because his words are gonna go out faster than his brain can think of it, and it's just gonna be hilarious. But I'm gonna specify which Flash. I'm gonna go with Wally West. I'm not gonna go with Barry. I want Wally West Flash having a caramel macchiato.
Okay. You ready, Ortiz?
Sure. Yeah, I think it would be delightful to sit down with a cup of tea with Peter Parker. Preferably Peter Parker as an adult. That way I'm not having tea with a teenager because that just strikes me as weird. But
Yeah, and
seems like
allowed near a school.
Nice. I mean, like for me, it was in my brain. I was a little bit like him, Steve Rogers. I don't know, but I was like Peter Parker always seemed like a pretty solid dude. Like he just, we're both from New York. We can talk about dumb things and pizza. It'll be a good time.
What borough are you from?
Bronx.
You're from the Bronx. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be a good time.
Well, how close is Queens from there?
I mean, depends on traffic or the train.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't even think about that. Wow. So much
Okay.
for my follow-up question. Now I feel stupid.
So I'm going to go with Captain America because he's a World War II vet. So I dig that. And then since he's of that era, I would say we just have to do regular coffee, but I'm still adding cream and sugar because, that's just how I roll.
I think Cap would drink a Cafe Americano, though.
Espresso
I think he
straight
would.
up, yeah.
Yeah, I think he would indulge that. He'd be like, "Oh, this is a lot better than what I had in Europe in 1944."
But if we're doing the coffee though, he's probably going to want it out of a percolator. He's not going to like those new age fancy machines.
I'm going to be a little racist.
Yeah, there's a funny joke about that College Humor did.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. But yeah,
given his physiology, wouldn't he need like super caffeine for it to actually have any effect on him?
it would have to show up on a drug test. Yes, that's how, because his metabolism is like stupid fast.
Okay.
He can't even get drunk. Poor bastard.
Oh, that would stink. Poor guy. No wonder he was always punching people in the face. He was at anger issues.
Yeah.
His barbershop quartet was all dead.
Yeah. Like he had nothing to do on Saturdays, for God's sakes.
All right. So, Matt, which superhero and what are you drinking with him?
I'd go with Captain America, too. I don't drink coffee, but coffee shops tend to have lots of really nice pastries.
There you go.
Oh, Cap with a croissant. That'd be awesome.
No, he's a baguette or a bagel dude. I mean, he's from the north. He's from like New York area, right?
He's from New York City.
Yeah.
He's
So he's
from
doing
New York,
bagel.
yeah.
Einstein bro
Brooklyn.
bagels.
He's Brooklyn. Yeah, I was gonna say he was a Dodgers fan.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
doing Einstein
From
bagels from Brooklyn.
I was at that game.
All right, Ginger. Now you've had time to think.
I'd probably want to do somebody like Deadpool or Ambush Bug, get them all caffeinated, and then
Ambush Bug.
unleash them on,
God.
and then unleash them on somebody,
No,
and just enjoy the show.
I thought about Deadpool, and then I was like,
See just how annoying they could be,
I was like,
and
no.
just sit back and watch them annoy the ever-loving piss out of somebody. Because Ambush Bug came out before Deadpool, but the other seemed kind of cartoony, annoying as hell kind of characters. Because Ambush Bug is even pissed off Superman. So if you can do that, caffeine is just going to make it that much funnier.
He also pissed off
Are you
Mr.
going to slip some
Mississippi.
Adderall in there with him when you're having the coffee with him?
You didn't say I couldn't.
All right, so Matt, this is where we would normally air the commercial, but we're going to let you guys, pimp your own stuff today. So Matt, Can you tell us about your series that you just released the third book in?
One of my church friends calls it the Young X-Files, since the protagonist of the first book is in high school. By book 3, he and his girlfriend are juniors in college, and I just keep this going forever. You know, now 20 years from now, maybe they'll be grandparents, who knows? So the book that came out most recently is called The Walking Worm. To continue the X-Files metaphor, it's a monster of the week, where Thing in the Woods, and especially Atlanta Incursion, the first 2 books in the series, are myth arc.
Okay. And we'll link to that in the show notes, dear listeners, so you can check it out. And then if you type his name into the search bar on YouTube or any of the other Rumble or BitChute on our page, it'll pull up his interviews because he's talked about it before. All right, Ortiz, what are you pimping today?
So going to be pimping the Kickstarter for our comic that we're coming out with called Breeze. It's a pretty fun, sarcastic, kind of action-packed cyberpunk comic made in the vein of a lot of more like 80s stylings and properties. It's following a group of freelancers that kind of all band together because they think they found the ultimate heist to rob a mega corporation and kind of wind up tangled up with murder machines, super soldiers, and cyborg cats. So it's a pretty fun time.
Sounds like a fun Saturday night.
Yeah,
pretty much. All right. So first, when is this Kickstarter running? Because we're airing this episode actually will be at the end of March.
So it's actually going to be going up the end of next week. So
it'll still be live at the end of March?
Yep, because it goes for 30 days.
Perfect. So not everyone's doing 30 days anymore. We've interviewed some people that just do 2 weeks.
For sure, but we're doing 30 days.
I was saying, so we will link to that in the show notes. And Evil Ginger.
Yes.
You normally do yours through Kickstarter, so crowdfunding, so you don't tend to have it like where they can go to a store to buy it. But is there anything of yours we could pimp out that they could buy right now?
Well, my current campaign is still available on Kickstarter for Exodus Z 1 and 2. I sent you the link for it in Messenger.
Okay.
But I also have individual copies myself. And we have Phantasmagoria, which it's an anthology, like a horror anthology with a can't say the right word. One of the stories in it is Exodus Z, and it's kind of a filler between issues 1 and 2. I'm working on issue 2 right now. I'm inking some of the pages, so when I'm not looking at the camera, that's what I'm doing. I'm not being rude and ignoring anybody.
No, we dig it. In fact, one of the things we talked about as we opened season 5 was that we wanted to do actually more comic related stuff. And then, hold on, let me do solo so people can see that.
That's super
nice.
cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, if you like inappropriate humor and a little bit of gore mixed in there, then Zombies versus Angels is probably a good idea for you.
I mean, dude, I was a grunt. Of course I like inappropriate humor. It's all I know.
I still get in trouble for it.
Well, I was in my one and only humor novel. They said, hey, write this humorous short story. So I wrote barracks humor, and they were like, yeah, this is too much for us.
Yeah.
So I just finished it and turned it into a novella. And then I realized it was so barracks humor that I had to bring my Marine friend in to co-write it with me so he could tone it down a little bit. But he wasn't a grunt in the Marine Corps. He was like camo. So I don't know how that like counts in the scale of Marineness.
It's okay. I mean, if you're still attached to a grunt unit, you're still going to get the humor.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, in the Army, we judge people that aren't infantry. And even in the infantry, we judge each other. Like, they make jokes about me for being a leg, but leg lives matter. I don't care what Nick says. So, I mean, I know there's a hierarchy of all things.
Yeah, you dirty, nasty leg.
Dude, that's right. You know what you call an airborne ranger when they hit the dirt? A leg. All right, and with that,
I'm going to punch you.
Yeah, I'm only
going to
saying
fucking
that
fight you now. I'm going to fight you now.
When you're on the other side of the country, we'll have a clash, and we'll get the cool noodles out. We'll recreate the great Josh fight.
Dude, you told me you have bad knees. That's an easy fight.
I'm saying they do sell those bionic like knee braces. We're good.
Bionic.
All right. So
Just
Nick,
tell me you're going to sell tickets to this fight. It already sounds better than the last Tyson one.
That's true. There's not a
we'll
$22
get
million
Jake Paul
payday.
to hype it up for us, and then we can find some grandpa for him to beat up.
Yeah, that's me.
We'll see if we can dig Muhammad Ali up, and then he can, fight.
I don't know. I'll take a couple of good shots from him, and then I'm gonna get mad. I'm like, no, and I'm gonna just hook his ass.
So Nick, this was the topic you introduced. So before, I will say we are going to be doing more comic themed episodes. Nick and I are already planning some more. We have a set of them, like we do the short stories, short interviews for short stories. We're going to do art with friends kind of thing, where we're going to have Nick, John, and some of their drawing friends on, like drawing while we chat nerdy topics. Should be fun.
Yep.
But so why were you so interested in doing this episode? Because you wanted to talk about converting comics to the big screen.
The reason I brought this topic up is because there's been a lot of really good comic book movies that have transferred well from one medium to another, and there's been a lot of bad ones that just like, did you even read the freaking source material? I'm like, come on, like it's there. Like Snyder did it right when he did Superman and Batman versus Batman and the Justice League. Like he tore pages out of comic books to be his storyboard. The same thing when he did The Watchmen. That was, there was some artistic license there, but like most of all, it was just he tore it out of the pages, out of the source material. So that's one of the things that I really like. I love comic books so much. It's something that's inspired me through my entire life. It's the reason I joined the military. It's the reason why I do comic books. So I'd like to see the medium represented well. And I also want to call out when the medium isn't represented well too. So that's why I brought this topic to you for this group so we can discuss.
Okay.
It's a passion.
All right. So if we're going to do an example of someone who did it right, who would you use as your, I'm going to point to this?
I would say The Crow, right off the top of my head, the first one.
Oh, James O'Barr, yeah.
I know it's not a new movie, but it's still one of my favorites.
I haven't seen the remake yet.
I refuse. That trailer looked nothing like.
Ortiz told me everything I need to know about that movie. He's like, "Oh no,
it was crap."
Okay,
it's not good.
Okay.
All right. So what is it about it that made it right? Like, what makes a good conversion? What do you look for?
Well, whether it's a comic book movie, video game, or cartoon, or whatever, if you're making a movie based off a known property, look at what made that property so popular and put those qualities in the movie. People will come watch the movie. And then they'll tell their friends that aren't fans of it already how good the movie was.
Now, sometimes things don't always translate as well when you go for cross medium. Some things that work in books might not work on movies, might not work in comics, et cetera, et cetera. So how much allowance then are you going to give for converting across mediums?
Nothing's perfect. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there'll ever be a 100% accurate movie based off of a known property. Like Street Fighter, it was another horrible example that just I can't point to where that movie went wrong because it was so bad. Okay. But I know a lot of the current ones, it's like they'll take the name and then just do whatever the hell they want with it, collect a paycheck, and then wonder why it bombs in the box office.
Okay. Ortiz, do you have opinions on this?
Oh, sure. Who doesn't?
Would you like to share them with the class?
So any adaptation from anything is going to have an uphill battle in that you need to ensure existing audience enjoys it and new audience enjoys it. So that's already a struggle going in. Ginger does have a strong point, though, in that if a property and IP already has a following, which is usually why it gets licensed, why it gets developed into, now we're looking at $200 million film. Why did it have a following? What was the appeal? What was the draw? What was this thing that made people love it so much? I am kind of stunned recently where a property will get adapted into a film, but more often now it seems like television, because we're in a new age of television. And then they'll interview the showrunners and they'll say, oh yeah, we never read the material, we weren't fans of the material, or anything akin to that, which again is already strange to me. Like, why did you get this job? And then further strange where they're like, yeah, you don't give a shit about the thing that you're adapting? Cool, no worries. Here's $300 million. Make us a season. And you're like, wait, what? So I feel like we're entering a new age in terms of adaptation, where in the 90s and the 2000s, the adaptations were, we want to try and hug the source material a tiny bit, but we also are a bunch of aging studio executives, so it's got to be cool, and we don't know what that means. So X-Men can't be wearing no, X-Men can't be wearing no yellow. Like, it's got to be black leather.
2000s, yeah.
But now we're in like a different era where it's almost like the adapting company, the studio, feels like they know better than the audience that they're trying to sell the item to. Like, as if they produce this film, this show, whatever, and then they go, yeah, you like this thing, don't you? And you're like, yeah, I did. And like, yeah, well, why didn't you like our adaptations? Like, because it wasn't the thing I liked. You just didn't understand what we did, or you're just bigoted, or 1,000 other things that come up.
Yeah, that's usually the go-to excuse.
Defensive mechanisms where it's like,
yeah, the audience blaming is just ridiculous.
But then why did you adapt the thing that we liked? What was the point?
They did it with Power Rangers. They've done it with so many other things. It's ridiculous. It's like, just listen to the fans. Like, read a old Wizard magazine.
But I do think there is something to be said for making sure you're not doing a super 100% direct translation. For as much as I enjoy the Watchmen movie, I also am fully accepting of the fact that it is not a perfect movie at all.
No.
There's things I like about it, and then it is not a perfect movie, Nick.
So you're basically using the old Simpsons adage where they got the old man, I used to be hip and with it, and then they changed what it was, and now I don't know what I am anymore.
I had an onion on my belt at the time.
I've never cared about being hip or with it.
Yes, but you also stand in your yard with your boxers and your wife beater shaking your fist at the clouds. So
I just think that there needs to be a level of passion behind the creative team doing it that doesn't stem from a paycheck, that doesn't stem from an agenda, that doesn't stem from sucking up to somebody, that it stems from, I really love this material that I am getting a chance to adapt.
So you want the Henry Cavill approach where they're super nerds about it.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think it's also important for those people to still be professional enough to understand where they need to tweak the source material they're working with. And I use the word tweak specifically in that it's not dramatic overhauls. I think a really good example, and I could be wrong and everyone could be pointing fingers at me and laughing, but like, for the most part, I feel a lot of people would say that Peter Jackson's adaptation of The Lord of the Rings is a really strong adaptation of those books. That being said, there are still some things changed for those films that people will never forgive. There's things they changed that, like, as someone who read those books, I was annoyed that they were removed or altered. But I'm still not going to, like, it's not enough. It's not egregious enough that I'm like, these are garbage. Like, you didn't understand the book. Like, these people clearly cared about the property they were working on.
Well, I mean, that brings up an interesting debate. Like, we're dealing with different mediums when things get transferred from the page to film to celluloid. So there are things that work on the page, even in comic books or literary works, that may not exactly work when you bring them to film. And you got guys like Peter Jackson that had some dilemmas with the source material, and he made some alterations, and it still ended up working, even though it pissed off a lot of people, certain things. but it was for a different medium, so you have to almost look at it through a different lens. Like I'm guilty. I loved the first Daredevil movie when it came out because we just didn't have superhero movies going on in that time that were worth a crap.
Yeah.
So I loved it. But when I rewatch it, I have to rewatch Daredevil director's cut because it kind of makes more sense, even though it's still hot garbage. But
I mean, and you can also, in hindsight, enjoy hot garbage, like in hindsight.
Oh yeah, I
B
mean,
movies are fun for a
I
reason.
like Pitch Perfect movies, so that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
So I will say that when you talked about agendas, like I get, well, sometimes you have to modernize the setting. If you're going to film a modern movie, it'd be really hard to recreate 1940s New York, right? Like setting it forward can work, right? I don't have a problem with when they bring it forward in time to have the character now instead of a historic artifact, just because it makes it more relatable. I get when you sometimes have to change the look. Like you might not be able to find the guy who meets the exact stats with the right height, hair color, eye color, all of that. Like sometimes you got to deal with the art or with the actors that are available. And I get the argument because Nick and I have talked about that with the Catholic Daredevil. But there are so many options if representation is the goal that you don't have to butcher what exists. You can find things that fit it or make new things.
To me, it seems like most often those changes are little more than gender or race bending.
But it's a cheap way to do it. They don't meaningfully change it.
No.
Well, I know, but if a character has always been one way in one form of entertainment, and you bring it to another one, you should make the character identifiable still.
Yes.
Suddenly changing that character's gender or race no longer makes that character identifiable.
Yes.
Especially if all you focus on is whatever their sexual flavor of the week is. Where's the entertainment in that?
Okay.
Well, what you said earlier, they had the whole first Captain America movie takes place during World War II, and they made that recently. And the movie I'm going to talk about later, The Rocketeer, they made that in 91, and it takes place in 1940.
Heck yeah.
Same director.
Yeah.
Same director.
So they
Huge
can.
fan.
Me too, obviously. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. But you can make period pieces, just costs more.
Yeah, and I will say as an example of just making new things when you want to, show some representation, the TV series Black Lightning, I thought that was excellent.
I thought that was a really good show.
It
had its cheesy moments.
It did, and it covered some of the
CW show. But yeah,
it covers some of the sensitive race, gender, sexuality questions, but
they didn't shove it down your throat, though.
And it also felt organic to the setting and the character.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, JR. It felt
that was one of my favorite out of the CW shows.
I watched that. I did not watch it with the kids because it was a little too dark. But
no,
I like their take on Q or the guy that gives them the gadgets. The guy that was the what do you call it? The tailor. Like I thought that was a new. I've never seen it portrayed that way. That's an example of doing it right. So you mentioned, Matthew, that you liked The Rocketeer. So what is it about that adaptation from Phil or from?
I saw it in theaters when it first came out, so you know how old I am, and I liked it then. Although I had to have explained to me what chloroforming was. That was a bit awkward. And then I watched it again for a film podcast I'm on called Myopia Movies.
We'll link to that in the show notes.
We watch childhood movies, see if they're still good. And The Rocketeer was still good. I got one of my cousins who was born when I was in high school to watch it on Disney Plus, and he liked it too.
Still has one of the greatest lines of all time. Acting is acting like you're not acting.
I will say The Rocketeer inspired the Army to actually develop a jet backpack in the 40s or 50s after World War II. No, actually it did. It's in the Fort Eustis Transportation Museum, and it worked. The problem is the amount of fuel you have to carry to get like 5 minutes of airtime made it so impractical it was useless. But it did actually work. It did get them in the air. Then there has been attempts to recreate that I've seen some of the stormtroopers do to see if they could fly with the jetpacks, but they're using water to shoot them into the air, and it's hard to steer. But like the concept, that was the first time I was exposed to that jet backpack concept, and of course the outfit, like that leather coat. Nick, you've done a cosplay of the Rocketeer, haven't you?
I did last Halloween. No, not last.
Yeah,
Halloween.
in that,
two years
mask. It was so
looked like a hood ornament.
It did, but it was so simple as well. It didn't try to go all fancy and whatever.
I looked like a walking Bentley.
It looked like someone had actually built it at their house, which was the goal, right? It didn't look like it was machine shopped and whatever. It was,
the helmet was made from a radiator in the comic.
I initially watched it because Jennifer Connelly was in it, and
She's hot.
turned out, she's on my laminated list. But turned out the movie was good anyway, and I got a hold of the movie poster for it because I liked it so much.
The Art Deco.
Oh yeah, one? The Art Deco one.
Yeah,
was that the one?
Yeah, it's a beautiful poster.
It's a beautiful poster. I need to get that and hang it somewhere in my limited wall space of stormtroopers and bullshit.
Billy Campbell and Jennifer Connelly are still alive, so they could do another one if they wanted. Set it in
I
the
wouldn't
60s.
complain.
I would love to see a Rocketeer set in like the 60s, because age-wise, that's probably what they would do.
Yeah.
I mean, Alan Arkin's just died, so there's no Peavy, and Paul Sorvino's dead, but you could say that he died in World War II. They tried to smuggle him to Italy to raise Sicily against Mussolini, and he got killed.
I mean, they did that with Indiana Jones, so.
Yeah, but they didn't do it well.
I was like, that's not
I just said they did it. I didn't say they did it well.
I stopped at the Crystal Skull.
Wait. Hold on. Are you guys telling me you didn't like Geriatric Jones? I'm shocked.
Crystal Skull was when they should have ended it because, he's a dean. He's finally married his only girlfriend worth a damn, and they have a son to hand it off to.
Yeah.
Right. And they screwed that up and killed him.
And the new one sounds like misery porn.
Yeah. But the thing is, when they brought in the Crystal Skull, they should have really done like a in-between series when he was with the OSS doing shit during World War II.
That would have been pretty cool.
Like, you could have done, like, it didn't necessarily need to be a movie, but that definitely should have been a Disney Plus series.
If you want
maybe
something
get Sean
like that,
Patrick Flannery again to go do that.
Hold up.
Young Indiana
Still in
Jones.
charge at Disney. We're never going to get anything good.
hey, if you want something like that, check out this alternate timeline someone wrote online called Jim Henson at Disney, where Jim Henson buys into Disney in the 1980s. So they wrote like a parallel story to the Odyssey where Indiana Jones is wandering around the Mediterranean during World War II. And so like they meet Cyclops, who's Colonel von Stauffenberg, and he turns him against Hitler. And in the meantime, all these skeezy men are taking Marion at home.
I would totally watch that.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. So are there any other examples of a conversion done right?
Watchmen. I know Ortiz and I are going to fight, but
it may sound funny, but the Punisher Warzone, I felt was the more accurate of the Punisher movies.
That was based off Frank Miller's run, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was perfect, but
no, it took some liberties, but
as good as an actor as he is, that movie was hot garbage. I'm not even going to count Dolph Lundgren's because it came out in '89. It wasn't meant to be taken seriously.
It was Punisher from the Yakuza. That's pure 80s Punisher.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but out of the ones that I've seen, I think that Warzone might be the best. And plus the was it Ray Stevens?
It was Ray Stevens, yes.
Ray Stevenson, yeah.
He looked more like
Castle.
The character was always portrayed in the comics. He's a big dude.
Shit.
Thomas Jane is a little bigger than me, so he's not really a Punisher.
Oh, did you ever see Laundry Day?
Laundry Day is pretty great.
His little love letter to Frank, that is quintessential Punisher.
I mean, the actor that plays him in the TV show, I think, did a great job.
John
Initially, I didn't think he was great for the job until I saw the series come out. And what they did with him was like, all right. I mean, it wasn't a perfect appearance, but his presence made up for it, I thought.
Yeah, no,
I
thought
don't
he
disagree with you on that one. I think John Berthnall did an amazing job as Frank, and he was Frank.
No, I didn't think he did bad at all.
From the first line in that Punisher series, which was season 2, and he's calling out.
He got the PTSD side down pretty good.
Oh, he nailed that. He freaking nailed that, and that's hard. Like, I went through half a bottle of bourbon watching that. Because I was affected by it. I was like, holy shit, this guy gets me. And I'm like, oh. It was like 5 a.m. My ex-wife was coming out. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, getting drunk watching Punisher. She's like, are you okay? I'm like, nope, probably not. I'm dealing with some shit. Like, it brought up a lot of stuff. But that is just a credit to his acting and the character and how he fell into that. It's like he was able to portray that character to such a degree where, like, as somebody that has PTSD and has been in combat, it's like, oh my God, wow. It was crazy.
Yeah, the Thomas Jane one, I don't blame the actor, but it's like none of it even looked like Tampa does not look like New York at all, where it was supposed to take place.
No, it was meant to be.
Punisher is not a tropical character.
No, and they tell you that when the very first shot says Tampa, Florida.
Well, I know it was filmed not far from where I lived, but it's like that. It's not a Punisher movie to me.
That was a weird choice, having it set in Tampa. I'll agree.
Does the Punisher ever leave New York City?
Maybe really. For certain missions and or something, but he was mainly a New York-based character that pretty much fought the mob and people like him.
I mean, he's a street level character.
Yeah, he's a street beater. There was a couple of issues where he went to Vietnam because that's really where his base is. He's a Vietnam era character, and they were kind of cool. He's doing some mission and action level type stuff, like some. Yeah, he had some wild stuff going on overseas, but no, he rarely leaves New York because he's always after the mafia, which apparently we can't say.
Now, what is that a common term? Street beater for a type of superhero?
Yeah, street level hero, street beater. Those are your Daredevils, your Batmans, Punisher.
I think Spider-Man to a point.
Yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Man is pretty classic for that until they kind of pull him beyond. Yeah,
they pick a region that just kind of stick to it, But now, as the zeitgeist has expanded with these heroes, like Spider-Man, covers all of New York, Manhattan, the 5 boroughs, all that stuff. When usually he was just there in Queens.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
No, you only web purse snatchers to the wall so many times before they all go somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess expansion is a thing.
I was going to say, though, especially you ever seen New York in the 80s? There's probably plenty of purse snatchers.
I mean, they didn't call it Hell's Kitchen for nothing.
Yeah, I guess he could have gone.
Yeah, and that's Daredevil, and that's one of his best friends in the comics is Daredevil because they. Because I don't know the relation. I'm where Queens and Hell's Kitchen is.
I think they had more of a mutual respect for each other.
That's a whole other episode. Superheroes that have friendships with other people. Like Spider-Man has a long-term friendship with Wolverine. The shit makes no sense because of the age difference.
One thing I've liked about Daredevil is he's been invited multiple times to join the Avengers.
Yeah, and he turns them down every time. But he's also nailed Black Widow, She-Hulk. His body count is impressive.
Okay. So we're gonna keep this family friendly. We're gonna move on from that topic. So what are some what are some examples? That's the After Dark. What are some examples that you think are the most egregious adaptations, the worst ones you've seen?
Spawn.
Any of the Marvel movies in the last 5 years?
Ooh, damn.
Spawn.
Out on the gauntlet.
I
Down.
had my mom take me to see Spawn when it came out. I was in middle school. I watched it again for the Myopia podcast. I called her up to apologize. That other than John Leguizamo as the violator, that movie is terrible.
Oh yeah, it is. But that's like Nick said earlier, a guilty pleasure movie. That's totally a guilty pleasure movie.
The soundtrack
I saw it
was
in theaters
amazing.
myself, and I never thought it was a good movie, but I always enjoyed it though.
Okay. What about you, Ortiz? What do you think is the worst offender as adapting the comics to the big screen or the little screen, I guess, if it's a TV show?
I mean, personally, for me, it'd probably be. Oh, there's a lot, but stealing that crown's probably going to be X-Men 3 or Dark Phoenix. I don't know. I remember loving the crap out of the Phoenix Saga and thinking it was so cool and so dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And then every single time they were like, "We're going to adapt it," and you'd get excited, and then you'd watch it and you go,
Yeah, and they
"What the sweet Christmas ham is this?"
I don't even get excited about comic book movies anymore. I got so used to them just doing whatever the hell they wanted. It's like they're deliberately ignoring the original fans.
And I think I also bring that up just because it's like adapting that storyline twice and still failing. I don't like that's an award. Especially, I bet if we calculated the budgets of those two movies together, like
didn't the second one destroy Fox movies?
I think Fox was already dead before.
Fox destroyed themselves. They find good properties, everyone loves them, so they cancel them. A pox upon their house.
Because Disney bought Fox, I think, right after Dark Phoenix.
I think they might have bought it before. I think they dumped Dark Phoenix out because they didn't know what to do with it. Let me see.
As much as I like Tom Hardy, I couldn't stand more than one Venom movie.
I've only seen the first one.
I've only seen the first
all
one.
All three of
them
were great.
I was entertained by it. I just didn't.
You can enjoy it all you want, man.
Now I get the grievance where it's hard to have a Venom movie where the origin is not Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the key components that made Venom who it was.
It really is. And so like Sony first did what they did. I get it. But they are enjoyable movies. They're fun. They focus on like the core of the character, the Eddie and Venom relationship. The third one was kind of fantastical. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but like it's better than Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3.
Well,
that's
I'm not saying that was a good
strange choice.
Yeah,
there's no reason he should have been chosen for that role.
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is up there in terms of problems.
I forgot about I think I pushed Spider-Man 3 somewhere deep.
I deliberately tried to forget it.
I also tried to forget Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
There's not enough whiskey on the planet.
Saw it at midnight in IMAX. I remember my roommate in college and I went and lost my wallet. So I'm watching that movie the whole time, wondering where my damn driver's license is. Finally found my wallet after the theater emptied and someone had stolen all the cash out of it. So it was just like a great night. Like I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And this movie.
Oh, that's very fitting. I walked out of there with a group of friends and they all knew that I was like a huge comic book guy, and they're like, hey, what'd you think? And I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? That's not Venom.
Yeah, my roommate was a ginormous Spider-Man fan, and he was really, really mad.
And why is Harry the Green Goblin? He should be the Hobgoblin. What the? Like then they'd listen to me rant for about 2 hours about just what.
Wasn't that Green Goblin the cracked out looking one?
What?
No clue.
The Green Goblin in that movie. Well, wasn't he the cracked out looking one?
Yeah,
like
he was.
spiked hair,
like
he was on crack all the time.
Yeah.
Well, in Spider-Man 3,
what the hell
Peter
went
thinking? Angry. He tore
and then
his
Peter
face off.
Injured him too. Yeah.
All right, so we've done the worst. Now, what is the best? And I know we've been going for an hour, and it sounds like you guys could ramble on this topic forever and a day.
Well, the Rocketeer shows you can make a good superhero movie without $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did it on the cheap too.
Okay.
That was
All
a good movie, but I still love the original Crow movie as well.
The original what movie?
The Crow with
Was that a
Brandon
comic
Lee in
book
it.
first?
Oh, for a second I said Krull, and I'm like, that's not a superhero movie.
No.
Was The Crow a comic first? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
It was an underground
James
comic.
O'Barr.
Okay. All right. So this is the part, dear listener, where you can join us in the comment section and you can tell us what you think the best and the worst comic book adaptation on the screen, be it TV or, box office. And of course, try to be kind in the comments. Like, don't go crazy, but we're all adults here and we're not going to police your speech. So, if you dish it, be able to take it, I guess.
Sure.
And if not, Nick and I will point and laugh because that's what we do.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If someone likes like the Marvel and DC movies that they've been putting out, good for you. But I just feel that they oftentimes just ignore the original fans that made the characters so popular in the first place. And I just got tired of being ignored, so I quit giving them my money.
I kind of lost interest in the MCU after Endgame, but I did see Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent so much time complaining about the Mandarin twist in Iron Man 3 that when they bring in the real Mandarin, I'm like, well, I have to see it now. I can't be a hypocrite. And it was pretty good.
I think I saw Shang-Chi in streaming or something, but by that point, I was already getting over Marvel movies.
I enjoyed Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is the part where I'm going to ask you one more time what your project you're going to pimp, and then we're going to throw the notes in the show notes, and then you can tell us how we can find you. So, Evil Ginger, obviously, we'll link in the show notes to your Exodus Z, but can you give us a Reader's Digest synopsis, elevator pitch, sales of the Exodus Z?
Yes. If you like inappropriate humor, 80s, 90s kind of gore, and you like the idea of zombies, figuring out how zombies fight angels, then Exodus Z is probably a good book for you. Because I'm co-creator. The writer, George Alvarez, initially came up with the book. He let me add my 2 cents enough that I became a co-creator. So I added stuff all throughout the backgrounds, Easter eggs, all throughout the book. Whenever I found a spot to say, hey, let's try this, and oftentimes George went with it. And then I'm still hiding more stuff in issue 2, just so people can say, what the hell? Or what was he thinking? Just see who pays attention to it.
Okay. All right. Matthew, can you give us the Reader's Digest version? Obviously, we'll link it in the show notes of the Walking Worm series, and then how we can find you.
Okay, well, imagine the X-Files set in like 2007, 2009, 2012-ish, mostly in the South.
Okay. And where can we find you? Obviously, it'll be linked in the show notes, but can you tell them?
Well, sorry, my brain totally wandered off there. So for the Kickstarter, I made everything wide, so wherever ebooks are sold. And wherever print books are sold, although Amazon is probably the best place to get it.
Okay. And Ortiz, what are you pimping? And then how can they find you online?
What's up? Yeah, so talking about our comic breeze. So if you like, things like girls, guns, robots, maybe a little dose of a Sin City mixed with a nice cyberpunk setting, highly recommend checking it out. Have a good time. It's going to be, the first issue is going to be 40 pages with 3 more already set up going forward. So looking forward to try and get those out. You can find us at Instagram at DawnwardUniverse, or you can even visit our website, which is dawnwarduniverse.com. You can check out some behind the scenes stuff, some more artwork, some of the short films that are tied to it, even some of the short stories and novellas will be linked there as well. So. Yeah.
And those are really good. I've read them and reviewed them some. We've talked about them as well. I really dig what you were doing. And how is the book that I beta read for you coming along? When is that coming out?
Ideally this year. It kind of got waylaid in terms of post-production only because the comic superseded everything. So it's pretty ready to go. It just needs the final touches and packaging, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, because this got way more intensive than I intended it to be, I just kind of had to put something aside to ensure that we could get the comic out.
I can tell you, since I've already read it, that it was amazing. So you're in for a treat. And then Nick, give us the rundown on Apogee Comics elevator pitch version, because we're going to link to that in the show notes as well.
Man, you fans of this company, all 12 of you, are going to like what's coming out this year. You have Phantom Hawk Resolute coming out. You have Quickwire coming out. You have Corvid and Sparrow coming out. So you got a lot of good stuff, and then stuff that's going to lead into 2026. Operation Blackjack or Team Blackjack. We're still trying to nail the name down. We used Chat GPT. It was no help, but there's some good stuff coming out. You guys are going to love it. We have a really good art team coming in here and putting these books together. It's going to be amazing.
Okay, so we need.
I'm drawing one of them.
We need at least one of you to go to his website and order some of his comic books, so he can at least get a baker's dozen of fans. All right, he needs that lucky number 13.
I've gotten books and then got his T-shirt and put one of his characters in my.
He's wearing it right now. Look at his titties.
Zoom in.
There on his titties.
Hold on. I can only move the mouse so fast. It's slow. There you go.
So he's wearing a Phantom Hawk T-shirt. Phantom Hawk's a really good character. You should check him out. Most people, when they read it, they're like, "Oh, this is like a Batman tale," but then it gets weird, and then you realize I'm not reading Batman. I'm reading Phantom Hawk.
That needs to be on the back of an issue right there. It's like Batman, and then it gets weird.
I'm just saying a lot of Army stories start with, and then it got weird. I'm just, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing with Phantom Hawk too. He's a former soldier, you know.
I was in the barracks alone, and then it got weird.
Yeah.
Same thing with my book. My book just kind of starts weird and gets worse.
Okay, and this is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book, so do your part, people. Join the conversation in the comment section over there on the Facebooks or on the BitChute, Rumble, or YouTubes. It really does help engagement, and also it's just kind of fun. I mean, they get nerdy about this kind of stuff for a reason. So join the conversation. You can find us on our link tree, linktr.ee linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumbles, the YouTubes, the TikToks. Maybe we're not sure on that one. The Twitter, the Spotify. We've got our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, Blasters and Blades podcast at gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people, save the shenanigans from Adam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show over there at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section. It's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till it pours out of their eyeballs, people. And with that, if you go to the link in the show notes, use the code PODCASTRUNS, you get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's American company. None of that drop shipping nonsense. It's made and roasted here in the continental United States, and they do ship everywhere in the U.S., and they are working on abroad soon. As we were recording this, that was the latest memo we got from the partner program. So with that, go do your part, get your gourmet coffee, and help keep the lights on. And with that, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And Nick, this is where you go eat the steak your wife is making, because she's threatening to stab people if you don't eat it while it's hot.
Carne asada night, man. We're going south of the border.
All right, and with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait for it. Don't cuss yet.